Hey friends, welcome back to Casey Ezel Writer Life. Today I have a sort of different kind of video for you. I have been really enjoying using Notion to track my writing projects. So I thought it might be kind of fun to take you guys along and give you a little bit of a walkthrough of how my Notion setup and how I track all my writing work in there. So if you it's not a super long video, but grab a beverage and let's go check it out. All right, my friends, welcome to my Notion. So Notion, if you are not familiar, is a web-based product that is essentially a series of nested databases. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. What you're looking at right now is my dashboard on Notion. And I'm going to point with my cursor. The last time I did this, it was a little choppy, so I apologize if it's if that ends up being the way that it is this time, but I'll try to give verbal instruction as well. So as you can see here, I have added several aesthetic elements to kind of make this feel, a little bit like home and like a place where I want to be working. But what you've got is you have this sidebar over here on the far left that you can toggle open with the arrows or closed. And as you can see up here, the one that is highlighted is the one that says Casey's dashboard. So that's the one that we're on. I have my dashboard. Just real quick, I'm going to give you just a super quick overview of how I have this set up, and then we'll dig into the writing projects, which is what I really want to show you here today. One note, everything that I have done here on Notion is free. The art is either art that I have commissioned, like my banner there with my name, or created myself in Canva using my own pictures and royalty-free images, like this vision board over here on the left that says Joy and Health, or they're gifts that I grabbed off the internet for personal use. If you were going to create something like this for commercial use, obviously you would want to make sure that everything that you used, you had the rights to use, either because it was royalty free or because you created it or paid a license for it or whatever. So anyway, I also just want to point out that I was able to add my branding icon here, my little Casey Ezel Writer Life Dragon. So that's pretty cool. This is such a flexible platform, you guys. And that's part of the reason that it can be very overwhelming to some people. So we're going to try and keep this very simple. And like I said, quick overview of the dashboard. And then we're going to walk through the main thing that I wanted to show you today, which is my writing projects database. So I have this set up here in 3 columns, with the center column being the largest. There's a table of contents at the top that helps me keep track of things. If I click on writing projects on the table of contents, it'll jump down here to the bottom of the page where I have the header set up that says writing projects. And this here is a linked view of the larger writing projects database. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. But you can see I have all of my current writing projects, including some that I haven't started yet. As you'll see if I go over here, I have them all reflected here in this view. So let's go over to the writing projects database for right now. And I promise we'll come back to the dashboard and I'll show you how that works. So as I said, Notion is a series of nested databases. So what I've done is I've set up a database specifically for my writing projects. This here is the table view of it, and it's probably the simplest overview type of situation that you can set up. You can make these columns, these categories, they're called properties in Notion. You can set these properties to be whatever you want. What I have here is I have the title of the project, the publisher, what series it's part of, the number it is in the series. I have a files property that I've called artwork that I use as like a digital paper clip to when I either find or create inspirational art that that works with this series, or it's the cover art, or like I said, it's just something that's inspirational that I puts me in the right mood or the right mind space to write that project. I can attach it to the project entry in here. I'll show you what that means in a minute. My word count goal, some notes for, notes, and a status tag where I can reflect where I am in the process. So you can see I have a couple of projects in draft. I have a couple of projects that I'm currently plotting. I have one that I have already submitted and I'm waiting on edits on. And then I have a few that I have not yet started. And then project dates. I use this column for planning out when I'm going to work on certain projects. What I'll tend to do is, like, for example, the Paladin story is due 30 November. I have my project date set so that I have a little bit of buffer because I want to have it done by Thanksgiving. So yeah, quick overview of the table view of this database. However, as you can see, there are multiple different views that I have up here. And so a lot of these are different ways to sort things, different ways to reflect the information, just like any good database, right? So this is everything that I'm working on sorted by series. This is a board view that is set by who is publishing them, who is publishing any particular project that I'm working on. This gallery view is super cool. This is part of the reason why I love to work with the art and put the art in there, because it'll give me these beautiful cards. And you'll see this again when we go back to the dashboard. I have a timeline view where I can see, when I'm supposed to be working. This pulls from that date range that I set when I was going to be working on things, so that I can use this to kind of plan out my writing year. And then this is the status of projects board that works kind of like a Kanban board, if you're familiar with that concept. So I have, the projects that are not started, projects that are in progress, so in plotting, drafting, editing phase, and then projects that are completed, which basically means that they've been submitted, they've gone to the ARC team, or they've been released. So, for example, if I get edits back on Down These Mean Streets, it'll come back from submitted and it'll go back into the editing phase until I resubmit it, if that makes sense. So that is the overview of all this information. Really good information to keep track of. But that's not where the magic of Notion is. Because do you remember how I said that it is a series of nested databases? Well, nested within this database, each of these entries is a page of itself. So let's open up one of them. We'll open up the King's Daughter. That's my current work in progress. And it opens in this like side peek thing so that you can work on both of them. But I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the full page so that you guys can see the whole thing. So you can see here, I've set it up with some banner art from the series itself. And all of those properties that were reflected in the table view are up here in this top section. But then as I scroll down, I've set this up so that I have further information embedded in this page. So this word count tracker is just a table. It's not a table view. It's not a database, because I don't think I'm going to need to pull each of these entries out into their own thing. I just needed some tabulation, right? So this is a word count tracker where I can track the, sorry. I can track the number of words that I've done in any particular sprint or session, and then the total words for that day, and then a notes section. This particular project is actually a collaboration with Chris Kennedy of Chris Kennedy Publishing, which I'm super excited about. So I've been using the notes section to keep track of the total words in the manuscript, whereas my total written comes down here in this sum function that is automatically done just by inputting how many words I get per writing session, which is pretty cool. So that's over here on this side. On the right here, so again, this page I have set up in a 2-column view, obviously. On the right side, I have a couple of things too. This right here, you see the King's Daughter characters. These are all character sheets. But if you notice, this is a table too, right? Or a database too. This is a nested database that is contained within this page. And each of these entries I've used as a character sheet. And so if I click on one of them, it too is its own page. It opens up to show the character sheet for this character named Celine, right? So there's her character art that I generated in Midjourney, again, as inspirational. And I've got all of her like character data in here, right? Her age, her eye color, her hair color. Hopefully there's no spoilers here. So, but yeah, and that's true for each of them. The other great thing is, let's say that I have a new character that I wanted to add. I click on new, and if you see down here where it says character, I've set this template up so that if I click on that, it will fill in the character sheet and I can just fill out the questions. Super powerful tool, really, really great stuff. Absolutely love it. You set it up once and then you can use it multiple times. So go ahead and delete that because I don't need it. So that's one nested database. The next one is I have a similar situation going on for locations. I just don't have anything filled out here yet, just because I haven't gone in and taken the time to do that. But at the beginning, when you're starting to plot a novel, this could be very useful, right? To kind of keep track of all of your notes. I actually started working with Notion after I'd already begun work on this book, so that's why some of this stuff is incomplete. So that's the character sheets, the location sheets. And then I have this database down here called my writing journal. This is a new thing that I'm trying with this book, because I'm kind of interested in tracking some information about my overall process for how things go while I'm writing. So what I've done here is I've created, again, another inline database, where each of these entries goes for like a writing session or a writing day. So I'm tracking, the name of the session, which the top one is Celine Makes Friends. This one down here is writing at work or writing pre-night shift. It really doesn't matter what I put in there. It's just sort of like a memory jogger for, okay, this is the time that I was talking about. I have it set up to track, created time. So basically, it gives an automatic timestamp whenever I open up a new entry, so I know like which day I'm working on. I have this tag here set up to be to track which section of the book I'm working on. So right now you can see I'm working in Act 2, Part 1. I have the 3 acts set up, and then editing and plotting are the options, and I can add more options if I need to. If for some reason I should need to do that. Just like over here in this mood section, this is another tag style property that I've set up to track sort of how am I feeling during each particular writing session. Because again, I'm interested in sort of my mental gymnastics, my process as I go through the writing of the book. And at a certain point, it feels like projects will get grindy, for example. So you can see I have grindy on here as a tag. And I want to know if there's a correlation with, okay, this happens around this point of the book, or, if that correlates with, okay, this is what happens when I'm writing at home or when I'm writing at work, just kind of some curiosity about how my own brain works. I'm tracking which chapter I'm working in, and the scene words. Now, the scene words, this is a very fluid category here. Sometimes I've put the number of words that I wrote in a particular scene on that day or in that session. And then sometimes I just end up putting the overall words in that whole scene. Just sort of depends on the situation at the time when I'm logging it. So, and then the other thing to keep in mind is this is my first draft, right, guys? So some scenes are going to change, right? When I go through and editing, I'll split things, I'll combine things, etc. So it's just sort of, really it's there to see if there's a correlation between number of words and how I'm feeling. Okay. But just like as before, each of these entries is its own page. And this is probably my favorite thing about this writing database is this piece here. So I can open up each of these entries about writing, a particular writing session. I've got all of the properties up here that I can fill out, but then I've also set it up to where I have these questions in the template. So I can record what the purpose of the scene is, how many words I've done today, how did I feel while drafting. These two seem like they're a little bit redundant, but as you can see, the overall scene words in this one was like 3,500 words in the scene, and I only did 1,500 of them that day. So that's why I included that. And then this is a place to expand how I'm feeling, right? So in this, in this session, apparently I felt pretty positive, even though I was tired. And I expanded on that saying that, I felt surprisingly good despite the fact that I got a late start. So that's cool. Um, but the real gem here is this question, things to go back and fix, right? So I have literally had to have notebooks open beside me while I'm working before, where I can make notes like, oh crap, I need this character to have a knife. So I need to go back to the beginning of the story and make sure that someone gives them a knife, right? And things like that. I'm trying this out to see how this works, but I thought that if I'm keeping track of all of this data, why not have a place to keep those kind of notes where when it comes time to edit, I can cross-reference what I'm reading with what I see in the entries, and as tracked by like the chapter. When I'm editing chapter 7, if I go through and I'm reading chapter 7, I'm like, oh man, she really needs a knife here. I can open up these entries and see, oh yep, sure enough, I need to have a knife, and just help me keep better track of those sorts of details that tend to bubble to the surface while I'm drafting, but I don't really want to do anything about right now because I don't want to get out of the zone of drafting, if that makes sense. And then I'm also tracking my writing environment and if I'm using any music or ambient noise for writing. Just because, mainly because I'm curious about that stuff, right? To see what's working. So, and once again, I have this really cool Midjourney picture it's like a crazy typewriter with no output, but I love it because again, I like looking at pretty things. I find those things motivating. So, the other thing down below here, I have this full size image. This is another Midjourney picture edited by me. And this is intended to be sort of inspirational and maybe cover art concept-ish. I think I sent this to Chris saying, hey, this is sort of the kind of feel that I'm looking for cover art for this book. And I put that there for a couple of reasons. I also, as you note, I put it here too, under the artwork property. You can attach files here so that they're all together so that you can access them. But the other reason that I put the main, that main picture here is because if we go back to the projects database and go to the gallery view, that's the artwork that shows up for The King's Daughter, which I think is super cool, right? So when I do have cool art, it'll be there. And furthermore, if I go back to my dashboard, as I'm scrolling down, you can see I have this works in progress section over here on the right. These are my current projects that are in the drafting phase. And I have them listed as a gallery view so that I can see the art and kind of get into the mood for them. And I just, and when I click on that, it opens up that exact same page. So if I make changes to this page, this is just a linked view. It will actually reflect those changes over in the database, which is super, super cool. So that's one view that I have on my dashboard. If I scroll down past this, a lot of this other stuff is all my like HB90 goals and stuff. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in a video on that stuff. But right now I'm not really going to go into it. But this is where we were before. And you can see this is basically that same table view of the database. But below that, I have the board view, which I quickly showed you guys over on the database page. But this organizes my projects by publisher. So I can see, okay, these are the things that I'm doing for Chris Kennedy right now. These are the obligations that I have for Bain. This is something that I'm working on spec. This is something that I'm considering for self-pub down the line. Because I've set everything up as a database, when I go back to this, I can set up this view any way I want and search or sort by any of these properties. And then once I get it showing me the information that I want, then I can link that view to my dashboard. And so when I open up my dashboard to start work work that day, I have everything there set up for me. And I can just click in and say, okay, here's The King's Daughter. I'm going to open up The King's Daughter and I'm going to do a writing sprint and I'm going to log my words and, fill in my writing journal about how it's going. So far, I have been super, super pleased with this, you guys. It's been just a really great way for me to track my progress, track my mood, track my process, and honestly, if I'm completely honest, in a super nerdy way, it's been a lot of fun. Now, that being said, it does take a fair amount of work on the front end to set this up, because when you first open Notion, this is what you get. so, so if this is something that you're considering, first and foremost, do not be intimidated. Okay, there are so many instructional videos on YouTube and even linked through Notion itself where that will walk you through how to set these things up. You can also import templates. So do you remember when I was talking about the template that I set up? So actually, just let me show you here, because I do have certain different types. Down These Mean Streets was a excuse me, a Bain anthology that I did, I turned in last month, that I was co-editing with Larry Correa. And this one is it has a little bit different setup. And that's by design, because I needed to track different data for the anthology than I did for for a novel. Now, one note here is I would be very careful about putting sensitive information in Notion, because it is web-based, so it isn't 100%, it's not insecure, but it's not as secure as it doesn't have like end-to-end encryption, for example. So I still kept like author addresses and things like that on my own, tracking, that is only on my machine or whatever, but things like the timeline, stuff like that, I could put in here. But as you see, it's very different, right? Because I need different information. Same thing with like a short story. This is a short story that I just told the editor that I would be working on. This is basically very similar to the novel setup, but slightly different, because again, slightly different information. So what I've done, so that I don't have to recreate those every time, is I've set it up so that, let's say I start a new project. Oops, let me spell this correctly. Every time I set up a new project, I can click on it, and I have the option to choose either a novel template, which will give me, all that information for a novel, a short story template, or an anthology template. So let's say I'm working on a new anthology as an editor. It's going to bring this up. It has a little placeholder art there that I can swap out for individualized art if I have it already. And then, all of this information is set up, ready for me to fill it out and put it in there. So, really great tool. But like I said, it did take a fair amount of work on the front end to set that up. So like I said, if you are interested in how I did that, leave a comment below. And I'm happy to do a walkthrough video of, taking you through setting up a writing projects database / journal, sort of like this one. But I hope you guys enjoyed this Notion walkthrough. Let me know in the comments if Notion is something that you've ever tried before, or if you like other digital tools for tracking your what projects you're working on, when they're due, and things like that. So if you like this video, please do give me that Chuck Yeager thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If you have any other questions, or if you are interested in more of this sort of Notion-centric content, let me know down in the comments. And also let me know in the comments if how you track your creative projects. If you use a digital system, or if you have an analog notebook style system, or if you don't do any tracking at all, you just kind of work as the muse takes you. Let me know. I'm really interested. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me and checking out my Notion. And you like the video, I would love the Chuck Yeager thumbs up. I would love it if you would share this video with anybody who you think might be interested. And yeah, so we will see you next time.